Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. And my homage to our teacher, Pingwat Lokaswamin Hanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear meritorious devotees, you are joining in to listen to the second part of our discussion. Can you remember the name of the book we are discussing today? The topic of the book is Let's Select the True Leadership. So we are considering a leader. Why do we need a leader? We need a leader to see ourselves in heaven. That is one object or one of the goals we have. And the second goal we have is to liberate ourselves from this long journey of samsara. So to get it done, we need a proper leader. So if you have listened, if you have seen our first sermon, we discussed almost three qualities. In our first sermon, we discussed about the quality arhang. That means our leader should not have three weaknesses. First one is lust, then hatred, and delusion. He should be free of these three defilements. And secondly, the second quality that our leader should have is he should not be a disciple of another teacher. He should be a person who has understood his doctrine all by himself. So our Buddha is someone like that. He had no teacher. He by himself, he understood the Four Noble Truths, and because of that reason, he is called Samma Sambuddha. Now, the first great quality is Arhang. The second quality is Samma Sambuddha. And we start discussing about the third quality, that is Vijjacharanasampanno. So can you remember me explaining a lokadhatu, a world system? Let me bring that bit to you again. Now, we are living in this earth, and this earth has a moon and it has a sun. So this is called a world system. The Buddha said that there are many world systems like this, the one we are living in. He said that there are 1,000 world systems. That is the first cluster. So the first cluster of world systems is called Chulanika Sahasi Lokadhatu. That means Sahasi in Pali. In English it means 1,000. Sahasi means 1,000. Chulanika, the word chula means minor or smaller. So the first smaller or the minor cluster has got 1,000 world systems, like the world system that we live in. So then that is the point where we stopped our previous discussion. And now coming back to the details, the Buddha said there are 1,000 world systems like, or 1,000 clusters like the Sahasi Chulanika Lokadhatu. You have to multiply 1,000 by another 1,000. Then you get the Dvisahasi Majjhima Lokadhatu. Dvisahasi means kind of secondary. Sahasi again 1,000. Majjhima is middle. So this middle length, or this middle-sized cluster, has how many world systems? 1,000 into 1,000. That means it has about 1 million world systems. And the Buddha said there are another 1,000 world systems or clusters like this. That means like the secondary Sahasi Majjhima Lokadhatu. Then that amount, the final amount that we had earlier, should be multiplied by another 1,000. So finally we get the Tisahasi Mahasahasi Lokadhatu. The third Tisahasi means the third 1,000. Sometimes it's called the Mahasastik, the great cluster of world systems, which has got 1 billion world systems. So that is a huge amount. Now, the Buddha says this. The Buddha said this. Now we know that. We know this because we are reading these suttas. But this was said more than 2,500 years ago, where there was no equipment, so telescopes or satellites of navigation or whatever. He just knew it in an instant. In a split of a second, he gave this information. Then he said it is possible for him to send a light first to all these 1 billion world systems at once, and then send sound waves and address all living beings in those world systems. That is just astounding and remarkable. It is amazing to hear these accounts of the Buddha in these suttas. Now this is a true account, and you can read it. This is a sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the Book of the Trees, in the Anandavagga. So now can you remember what we are doing? We are considering a leader. We are trying to select a leader. So we need a leader, he who has a complete knowledge, not someone with a less amount of knowledge. A person with an incomplete mind or knowledge. The Buddha is pure in mind and he's full of knowledge. So this ability is not present in other religious leaders. It is not possible for them to look into the sky and say that there are this amount of world systems, and it is possible for me to speak to those world systems in a split of a second. But our Buddha had that capability. So we need, when we are considering a leader, he should have this ability. Now, it is important to remember that we are living in an era where these things are discussed. That means we are monks and nuns and all lay disciples. They're discussing about the Buddha, he who had these great qualities. We are so lucky in that sense to be born in this era where the qualities of the Buddha is spoken out loud. So if we don't know these great qualities, and if we just say Buddhan Saranang Gacchami, when we go for refuge, when we say Buddhan Saranang Gacchami, and if we don't know these qualities, without knowing these qualities, it is kind of in vain to say Buddhan Saranang Gacchami. The person who considers a leadership wisely, what he does is that he search for these qualities of the Buddha before coming into a conclusion. So, this is the third quality that the Buddha had. It's called Vijjacharanasampanno. Now, sometimes when we search for help, sometimes people come to us and they say, go to that place, you'll find refuge over there. And then another person comes and says, go to that place, you will find some refuge over there. So, if we start running here and there, searching for refuge, is it right to call ourselves Buddhists? It is not, because that means we haven't selected our leader. We don't have a leader. That's why we are running here and there, seeking for refuge. So that is not the proper thing to do. It is as if we have become blind. Now imagine there is a blind person and he wants to go to some place, a certain place. There comes another person with a good eyesight and he says, dear friend, take this white stick. And this person with the good view, a better sight, what he does is that he turns this blind person to the direction that he wants, not the blind person wants, but the person with the good eyesight wants. And he says to the blind person, friend, you are in the right direction now, you just have to walk forward. Now he's walking, now he's blind, he's with a white stick. This blind person is just walking. But he's not moving along the right direction. Then comes another person. And he says to that blind person, dear friend, where are you going? You're going in the wrong direction. Let me guide you to the right direction. And what he does is that he directs that blind person into another direction. And he misguides him. So he will be wandering round here and there. What is the reason behind this? Because he's blind. He can't see the proper direction. Since he can't see the proper direction, he's controlled by other people. Now, this happens to Buddhists as well. This happens to Buddhists as well. Certain Buddhists are like that blind person. They go in different directions searching for refuge, searching for help. They have forgotten their true leadership. They have forgotten their leader. They find or they seek refuge in other doctrines, forgetting the Buddha. So this is something unfortunate. People lack the knowledge of Dhamma. They do not know these qualities of the Buddha. That's why when they're in trouble, they seek refuge in other doctrines, in other perspectives. But the person who has gone for refuge to the Buddha with wise consideration, he knows who the Buddha is. And he's so happy and he's so delighted because he became a Buddhist not just by merely, saying Buddha Saranang Gacchami. He understood all these qualities. Then he decided that the Buddha is the true leader. Then he went for refuge. See, he's happy of his selection. He's delighted of his selection. And he lives with a contented mind because of his selection. It was something personal. Now, do consider this. Now, imagine we want to buy a good from a shop. We don't like to buy goods of poor quality. Everyone wants to buy goods that have a great quality, and they check the longevity. How long it would last, where it was made, if the proper ingredients were there when it was made, the manufacturer's name, everything. We check, we go, and we don't want to buy poor quality products. When we go on shopping, we select the best out there. If it is furniture, be it furniture, clothing, it can be food and beverage, whatever. When we select, we try to buy good quality products. So we are so careful when we are buying furniture, when we are buying food and beverage, when we are buying clothes. We are so careful. The wise consideration is there. We ask questions and we get answers. Then we come into a conclusion, okay, this product is a good one. This is of great quality. It is worthwhile. I should pay it without thinking for a second time. Why? Because he knows that he's selecting a good quality product. So when we are selecting a religion, we have to be really mindful, because that religion decides our destination. Can you remember earlier I told you that we have an ambition. Our ambition, the first one, should be to see ourselves in heaven. And the second one is that we should be able to understand this Dhamma, realize the Four Noble Truths. We should put an end to this journey. That's why we need a proper leadership. If we don't have a proper leader, then we will be misguided and we'll end up in a bad destination. So, we are not saying this to Buddhists only. This is going out there for all human beings, this message we are delivering now, here today. When you select your religion, you have to be really careful. You never know, people lie. If the religion you're in is not with proper guidance, then you're in deep trouble. Because at the end of the day, you will think you're doing the right thing, but when it comes to, you will someday in future you will realize that you have done something wrong. Now, if we select a religion just like a blindfolded man, then we will be misguided, just like he was misguided by two people, one to another direction, and the other person he sent this blind person to another direction. Just like that, we will be misguided, misled. So we would not be able to benefit from following these religions. So you see, when we go on shopping, there is wise consideration. We select products really carefully. Just like that, we ought to select our religion really carefully. Now people are living with so much of problems because they have not selected the proper religion. They're in different doctrines. Now, it is important to remember when it comes to religion, it is as if when now a merchant, a seller, would never say, look, come to me, I'm selling low quality products. He would not say so. Even though his product is in low quality, he will praise his product, and he would market his product, and he would sell it. So that's why we need to be careful when selecting. So these religions, the other religions, what they do is that they try to kind of deliberately push their doctrines into our lives. By force, they're trying it. So that is not the proper way to take in doctrines or religions. We have to examine, then select. So, a few years ago, in this country, there were there were they bought certain airplanes. All of them collapsed. They were destroyed. They made ground while they were flying. They came down and crashed. The reason behind this incident is improper selection. People who selected those aircrafts, they didn't have that ability, the ability of selecting a proper thing. So just like that, if we select an improper leadership, our lives will collapse. Our lives will be destroyed. Our lives will come to an end. And we would not be able to develop our lives because at the initial stage, the first step, our selection was wrong. When we consider everything, we understand when we look at the Buddha, in his lifetime, the Buddha's lifetime as a Buddha, and he became enlightened when he was 35 years of age, and he died or he passed away at the age of 80. So during that time period, we have 45 years. When we examine that life of 45 years, we can't find any defilement at all in his life. His conduct is so pure during that period of time. See, he has not broken any precepts. They were perfect. And for 45 years, he didn't say a single lie. He didn't use any harsh speech. He didn't use any divisive speech. And he was far away from idle chatter. So for 45 years, his speech was perfect. He didn't get anything wrong. Everything that he said was right and perfect. But it is not, when it comes to our lives, it's not the case. We say something and we regret. We say, oh no, I said something wrong. I should have said it differently. I should have said it in this way. I said it in that way. I got it wrong, so we regret saying. We regret again and again every time that that verbal deed comes into our mind, we regret. But the Buddha's life is not like that. For 45 years, he spoke the truth. He did not speak any harsh words. He didn't speak divisive words. And he was far away from idle chatter. So this special quality of speech belongs to the great quality Vijjacharanasampanno. Charana means behavior, conduct. So you move around. That means charana means you move around, behavior, conduct. Vijja means knowledge. Since he's acting according to his knowledge, since his behavior is based on his knowledge, he's called Vijjacharanasampanno. So when we are considering a leadership, when we are going to select a leader for our lives, this is a good quality. Vijjacharanasampanno. We need a person who acts according or behaves according to his wisdom, behaves according to his knowledge, not a person who acts stupidly. By the merit we have gained here today, we wish you would attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.